All right, guys, happy Tuesday. It's been a while since I've joined you guys live instead of sharing a video, but today's Tuesday, so I'm joining you again. I'm back in the swing of things. Got fun new stuff in the works, and just excited to be back safely in Israel and ready to keep giving you value on how to create content that gets you clients and gets you phone calls and things of that nature. Anyways, so I have been getting a lot of requests recently about help with writing presentations. So that could be for a networking group, that could be for a Facebook group. Someone wants you to do a live training in there or something like that. There's a lot of ways to make this work really well for you. And I think maybe because things feel like they're opening up again, that's maybe why I'm hearing it more. Anyways, another place where your content can come into play and where you can really kill it and turn it into clients. And I say this because as I've been writing them recently, this is something that ends up in clients and more money for you if you do it right. I get doubts sometimes where it's just like I'm a bookkeeper. What I talk about isn't interesting. No one will care if I talk about this stuff. They will care. So I'm gonna go through with you what to do before you write your presentation, how to outline it, and go over some FAQs that I usually get when I'm putting these together for people. Okay, so um, so just to start out, just so you know, one of my clients, she gave a presentation. She did so well. 3 people signed up for her to be her clients right after the presentation. So this is something that works. It's something that's worth putting a little bit of effort into. So I'm going to show you how to do it. And of course, I do give this service. So if you want a little extra help and you don't want to screw with it yourself, that's totally fine. So first off, I'm going to tell you to ask these 3 questions before you start even writing. So it's really important to guide, to get the conversation to go where you want it to and to get the result that you want, okay? Now, the very first thing that's important to ask is, whether it's for your networking group, another one, what are the guidelines do you have? For the organization you're presenting to or presenting through, what are the rules they have? Because, of course, that's just good etiquette. So, what's the topic? You may really want to talk about, like how to do your monthly checklist, but they're like, no, we don't want that. We have this kind of audience and we want this kind of bookkeeping topic. Okay, make sure that you're respecting the place where you're going to be. Ask what the length is. Ask how interactive it is. Sometimes, whether it's live or in Zoom, you can ask questions, get more interaction. That's always a really good idea if you can do it, because then people are actually engaged and not just sitting back and listening. Get them in the conversation. So ask, how interactive is it? And ask them the purpose of the presentation. What do they want you to do? Are you just educating? If it's a referral group, are you just telling them what you do and who you do it for so they can be your referrals? Are you allowed to pitch? Some platforms, when you do these presentations, you're not allowed to pitch yourself or sell yourself. So figure that out ahead of time, because there are other ways that you can approach stuff where they'll still want to reach out to you. But make sure you get clear on the guidelines first. So that's one. What are your guidelines for the presentation in this group? Number 2, very important, who are you talking to? This changes the dynamic of what you're talking about so much. So, for example, I recently did one for someone. She was speaking to pretty much all the entrepreneurs in her group were from mixed backgrounds. So some were real estate, some were here, some were there. It was a diverse background. So she didn't have to focus on just one subset of work or one type of bookkeeping, right? Not only that, they were very, very new. So she didn't want to talk about, like CFO services and things like that. These are people that, for the most part, are brand new or very small side businesses who are mostly doing their bookkeeping in spreadsheets. And she wanted to encourage them to go into software, to take it more seriously, and here's why. So that really changed the topic of what she talked about, because we were trying to make sure that it's helpful and relevant to who we're talking to. And again, another important thing to keep in mind, what kind of people are in the audience? Are these people who may hire you if you do this right? Or are they going to be referral sources? How do you want to equip these people? Do you think that they're going to put their cash down and get you as one of their vendors? Or do you think they're more likely to just be like, hey, I know Sarah. Sarah does bookkeeping. I heard that you need that. It changes what you're going to do. So not only that, make sure you know who your client, who's in the audience, what their backgrounds are, how diverse are their companies, where are they at in their businesses in general, stuff like that. But also, what do they need? What do they need? What do they want? What do they struggle with? When you're come and think of it as you're a problem solver. You're like, I'm coming with this skill set on this theme. This is who I'm talking to. What problems and wants are they dealing with that I can help with what I'm good at, with my specific expertise, right? Now, for example, I'm not here teaching you how to, I like watercolor painting, but that's not why we're here. That's not the audience. So I have to come to you. It's like, okay, I'm a copywriter, I'm a content marketer. How can I use that to help the people I'm talking to? So keep that in mind. You're trying to help. Helping is what this is all about. Um, so think about it. Like, where are they now? Like I said, are they brand new entrepreneurs, or are they growing and have multiple employees and payroll? That changes what they need. A brand new entrepreneur needs way different things than a much more advanced business. What transformation are they looking for? What are their goals for the next 6 months or a year? Do they just want to hit a $2,000 a month in revenue? Or are they trying to scale up and change their SOPs and get to this bigger level? Um, what are they going through? Where are they at? Really think about where their problems are and help them try and solve them. Even if these aren't people who are going to hire you, become known as a problem solver. People want to have someone help them with their problems. That's where it becomes sexy. So, but the best way to think about this is something in Donald Miller's book, Building a Story Brand, that's good. How can you position yourself as their Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because when it comes to whatever you're talking about, whatever your topic is, you're not the hero of the story. You're not here to talk about how great you are. You're here to talk about like how I can help you get to the point you want to be at. I'm the Obi-Wan Kenobi to your Luke Skywalker. You aren't the hero the client is or your audience is. How do you help them? Be helpful. Position yourself as the guide. So, first question to ask before you get started: what guidelines are you working with? Who are you talking to? And then the third question: if you could get them to do just one thing after the presentation, what would it be? Just one. Just one. And of course, this changes. Are you allowed to sell? Are you not allowed to sell? Are you allowed to pitch or not? Is it brand new people who don't have much money in their budget? Or are these bigger businesses who can spend more on like your higher dollar services? Pick one thing for them to do after the presentation and tell them what it is. This is the CTA, this is the call to action. You want these buttons on your websites, you want these lines in your social media posts, and you want them in your presentations. Tell them the next step you want them to take, because again, you're building relationships. The sales process is a relationship where you talk to them multiple times before they're ready to engage with you or before they're ready to like refer you. So make sure that you find a way to continue the conversation. Tell them the next thing to do. Sign up for my email list, download my freebie here, schedule a call. Sometimes schedule a call isn't the right one, sometimes it is. Tell them what's next. So that's what you need to determine. What are your guidelines given by the organization? Who are you talking to? And what is the one thing you want them to do after the presentation? That's it. That's how you get started. That's how you are able to set good goals and a good checks and balances as you're writing this outline. And honestly, your outline is just, think of like, your high school essays. You have an intro, a body, and a conclusion. It's basically what we're doing here. So I'm going to go through that really quick. Again, you don't have to worry about reinventing the wheel. You don't have to worry about being Steve Martin. You just need to make it easy for them, make it entertaining, and to speak in a way that that's strategic. You know, the fact that the sky is blue can be said in different ways. You can be poetic about it. You can be more memorable about it. And the same with like lists of facts and statistics. Just because something is true doesn't mean you're saying it in the best way. Just try and think of ways to say things creatively. Anyways, I'm jumping. Okay, so for the introduction, this is where you're setting the stage. We all have short attention spans, and you may not have the luxury of visuals. I'll get into that later. So what you're going to do in the beginning is you're going to give them a very quick summary. Now, I come from a journalism background, and the way they teach us to do it is in the very first paragraph, you're basically putting everything important in the entire article up there. And so you put a short version summarizing everything, and then if they realize this is something I want to learn more about, then they come down into the more detailed version. And the further down they go in the article, the less important the information is. But you want to try and get them in from the beginning. In the beginning, you are laying out what your article is, what your presentation is. So what you're doing is, everyone knows what's happening. You're in a networking group. You're talking about yourself and your business. There's no surprises. Just lay out what you're going to talk about and why it matters for them. Briefly introduce yourself and your business. My name is Heather Boyer. I'm from Puck Up With Content, and I do content writing, content marketing for bookkeepers and accountants. That's me introducing my business. That's it, just super simple, so they know who I am. And then briefly outline the presentation, set up the expectation. One of the best ways to create a title, like for a blog entry, is to be like 10 tips to do X. It's great for a lot of reasons, and one of the reasons why it's good is because it sets expectations. This is exactly how much information is in here and how much time you'll need to devote to it. It makes it very clear, and it's very good for like the verbal presentations too. So outline your presentation in a couple sentences. So for example, today I said we're going to be covering presentations, what to talk about beforehand, what to ask beforehand, how to write it, and other FAQs afterwards. I'm letting you know right up at the top, this is what we're going to be getting into. And also, I want you to understand the benefits. That's why I talked about the client that got 3 new clients when she did a presentation. I want you to know that it's worth your time to listen. So this is what you're doing up front. This is who I am and why you should care what I'm saying. This is what we're going to be talking about, and this is how it makes your life better. This is what you're doing in the introduction. And depending on how much time you have, try and tell a small story about yourself or one of your clients. I'm going to keep going back to this. Stories are very important. Don't list facts. Don't list statistics. Reference them in stories if you want to use them. We're built for stories. We remember stories. We feel stories. And even as a bookkeeper, trust me, there are tons of ways to write a story with bookkeeping that's interesting and that people remember and respond to. But anyways, telling a story about yourself. Again, you're trying to set yourself up so that you're the person that they trust, that they go to, that they send referrals to. And you have to talk about yourself just a little bit. Again, you're Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's just like, this is why you want to trust me to help you defeat Darth Vader and blow up the Death Star, right? You need a little bit of background, right? So you can tell a story about yourself. Guess what? As a bookkeeper, you can be the funniest bookkeeper they've ever met. Their expectations are super low on being entertained, so even if you're a little bit funny, it'll go a long way. That's the beautiful thing about being in a profession that's known for being more analytical or standoffish or whatever, which I know you're not. I know you're not. So tell a little story about yourself, about your business, things like that. And you've heard that phrase, building up the know, like, trust factor. This is a great place for it. If you tell a funny story or talk about yourself, that makes you more likable. That makes you more likable. And guess what? As you talk about yourself, if you throw in your experience, that trust factor, this is why it matters you're hearing this from me. That's your authority. Why should I care that I'm hearing about this from you? Why should your opinion matter at all? So make sure you're setting the stage for them. And once you have help them understand, like, this is where I'm coming from, this is what I'm going to give you, then great. Then you're going to go into the body. And at this point, it probably is just a few points. It could be a few stories from clients if you're just talking about the results you've given for others and need referral help. It could be the educational points that you lined up if you're not allowed to really pitch yourself. But basically what you're going to do is you want to try and ask a question at every point. Right? Because even if they can't answer back, questions, even rhetorical ones, have this effect, this kind of, it stops your brain. Your brain is kind of forced to stop and think about an answer. So questions are a really good way to open a presentation, be the first line of a social media post, and to get them pulled in to a point. People don't want monologues. They want something that they care about and that they're pulled into, right? Asking a question, even a rhetorical one, is good for that. So with every point, try and do roughly this. Ask a question. Try and share a story. Again, if you're going to share statistics, bake it into a specific story. This is important because people remember stories. Sorry, I lost my place. You don't just want to list facts and statistics. People won't remember that. But they will remember if you talk about how you had a client, John. John was struggling to get his invoices paid on time, and he was having a hard time paying his vendors on time as a result. And then you came in And working with John, you changed the language in his invoices and the expectations, shortened the payment period, got payments faster, and then that solved his vendor problem. And that's very different than saying, than just stating, I'm making this up. 50% of businesses need to shorten their payment periods on their invoices in order to meet their deadlines. Again, totally making this up. You start with the story and you make it personal about one person, about one client, and then back it up with statistics. Ooh, it really makes it hit home. So try and make sure that you're not just throwing facts at them, and try to apply it to them in their business. This story is how their business was made better and how your business could be made better. Or on the flip side, people are actually more motivated. Just so you know, you can't overdo this. But be careful. People are actually more motivated by they want to avoid punishments. It's easier to avoid a punishment than to take a risk and go after a benefit. So don't forget to include that. It's just like, if you don't do this, if you don't keep up on your bookkeeping, if you don't do your payroll correctly, this is the consequence. So this is something you need to do in your life. So here's what I'm saying. Ask questions, share stories. Oh my God, I'm totally spacing. Sorry guys, I guess I'm out of practice. Share stories, and totally sorry, but just try and make sure that you are relating to them. Yes, relate it back to them. There it is. Ask questions, tell stories, relate it back to them. Make it clear how it affects them and their businesses, whether they're small businesses or big businesses. Again, this is why it's so important to get that clear from the beginning. So for each point, go through it, connect it together, have the conversation. So that's how you handle the body points. And again, it'll differ how you handle the body. It could, like I said, it could be an outline of tips, 10 things to do every month as a for bookkeeping for your business. It could be how to streamline your payroll and outsource it. It could be, this is what my business is and how you can refer me. So the body will differ. Anyways, for the conclusion, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring it home. You want them to stay in contact with you. You want them to refer you. You want them to do the call to action, the CTA that you decided before you even started writing this out, right? So again, repetition is a really good friend. So at the beginning of your presentation, the introduction, you said these are the points that we'll generally be covering. Then you covered them in detail in the body, and then in the conclusion, you sum it up again. So here's what we went over. This is how it makes your life better, or can help you avoid making this, going through this pain or making this mistake. Include the clear call to action. What do you want them to do next? Again, you're serving it so that they keep interacting with you. They stay in your circle. They remember you. They reach out to you. They call. They whatever. Include the clear call to action. Don't make them guess what to do, because they won't do it if you make them guess. And just bring it all together. This is my name. This is my business. This is what we talked about and how it can help you. Again, this is what you want them to have. You're here to serve and help them remember this stuff. One thing you could do, if you want to keep helping them push it forward, some groups, they'll encourage you to have questions at the end for you to ask and have a discussion. Make sure that you have questions that aren't just yes or no answers, that they have to think a little more about, that aren't just one word or yes or no answers, that actually generate some discussion. So don't ask, do you have a bookkeeper? That's not gonna, yes or no, that's all the question is. But maybe, what are 2 things that you think you could improve in your business's bookkeeping? See how that gets more personal, gets more into the brain. So if you're gonna have discussion questions, think along those lines. Another really great thing to do, and that I also do with like those lead magnets and PDFs I'm always sharing with you guys, share a freebie. And this could be, it could be a printout if you're live. It could be a download. And that could be a checklist. It could be a list of links to bookkeeping tools or QuickBooks videos. It could be a blog on your website. Again, we're trying to start and continue a relationship with the people you're talking to. So figure out a way that you can help them. Remember, we thought about, who are these people? What are they dealing with? Provide something where you can keep helping them. continue the conversation, continue being a source of value and authority and expertise to make their lives better. So at the end of the presentation, you can do that. You can have something extra to hand out, to offer. It goes a long way. And it may pay off in a day, it may pay off in 3 to 6 months. You never know. But it's better to have it out there, and they do pay off. I had someone who watched these videos for 6 months before she reached out to me. Guess what? It worked, and she hires me all the time. It's great. So this stuff does work, I promise. Okay, so that's like the layout, right? Intro, body, conclusion. Talk about who you are, tell stories, include the information, but don't just list facts. It's a different part of the brain. So I'm going to go over 5 FAQs and tips right now for things that people ask when we're going through the presentations together when I'm helping them. So first one, how do I know how much to write? Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Err on the side of too much. If you're not sure what to throw in there or not, put it all in there with the kitchen sink, because it's easier to trim than to fluff it with crap later. You want to be cutting out good stuff later. That's good. So if you aren't sure how long to make it long. Everyone presents at different speeds and cadences and things of that nature. So write it all out. Just dump it in a bullet point list and practice saying it out loud. You know, you have a 10-minute presentation, see what you can cram into 10 minutes without it feeling too squished. General guideline, just so you know, the last couple of 10-minute presentations I've written, 5 to 7 pages bullet pointed. So just so you have a general idea. But again, everyone presents at different speeds, with different inflections, things of that nature. So keep that in mind. So for how much to write, err on the side of too much, better to trim than to fluff. So, okay, so maybe you have slides. So if I have slides, what do I do about visuals? If you can use visuals, great, use them. Good images will bump their retention up from 10 to 65%. It's a lot better. So if you can include that, definitely do it. But don't overdo it. If you're allowed to use slides and images and stuff like that, don't put 46 slides, don't put 342 pictures. It's too much. And there's a slideshow rule. 10 slides or less, 20 minutes or less, and then 30-point font is the smallest you go. You don't want to be cramming every talking point on your slides. You don't want to be putting every picture that you have in here. You want them to serve a purpose of just illustrating your point. Your talking is going to be giving the information, not the slides. So make sure if you have the opportunity to use images, awesome, do that. But keep the slides minimal. They're just meant to be a support, not to display everything. So play with it in that sense. So FAQ number 3, I'm afraid bookkeeping is too boring. How can I be more interesting? So again, this is something I come across all the time that my clients talk about. They're like, I'm not boring, but bookkeeping's boring. No one wants to hear about bookkeeping. Guess what? If you tell it the right way, they definitely do. Because making someone's life better is sexy. You know, why do you think you hire accountants? You don't hire accountants because you feel like they're the most interesting thriller novel in the world, but they make your life better and easier, and therefore it's just like, oh, I don't have to deal with this. It's great. So think about it in that way. You are making someone's life better. You are giving them more time on the weekends. You are giving them more family dinners. You are saving them stress in their business. You are helping them to bill more time rather than screw around with this stuff. These are the things you are genuinely doing. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And again, tell stories. When you're talking about the benefits, of bookkeeping and things, sorry, a bunch of birds just flew by. Anyways, when you're talking about the benefits of bookkeeping, bake them into stories. Don't just list facts, don't just put up statistics and bar graphs, and expect that reciting them in a monotone voice will have any impact. It won't. Tell stories. Make them the hero, you're the guide, and explain how bookkeeping was amazing for Joe. Bookkeeping changed Karen's life. Bookkeeping helped Sarah get her weekends back with her kids. This is how you make it interesting. That you are showing this is how it makes their lives better. People don't care about your list of services. They want to know, how does that make my life better? So tell them. Tell them in stories about real people. So that's the third one. Fourth one, I got five for you. How can I make my points more memorable? There's all sorts of little tricks to this. Um, uh, Sorry. How to make my points more memorable? Again, bookkeepers get insecure because they're like, I don't know how much people want to listen to me. It's a networking presentation. There's little things you can do to help make things more memorable. So you can get away with a little bit of light rhyming or like alliteration. So it's goofy, but think of like, the O.J. Simpson trial. If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Remember that? Or do alliteration. Start every, have 5 points, start them all with the letter A. And it kind of helps it stick. They see the pattern. It may feel a little bit goofy, but if it helps them remember something useful, it's great. And you're being simple. Again, repeat yourself at least 3 times. Not like verbatim, but just if you repeat the points multiple times, they're more likely to remember it. Also, use sets of 3. 3 points of this, 3 points of that. We're just built for it. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the Holy Trinity. You know what I mean? We're just used to processing things in 3s. So if you give them things in sets of 3s, it helps. Sounds goofy, but it works. Also, use sensory language. How do things taste and smell? What does it sound like? What does it look like? When you use sensory language, when you're telling your stories, it actually lights up the parts of your brain. So when I'm talking about how the peach tastes sweet and juicy, when you hear that, when you read that, it actually lights up the part of your brain that actually would light up when you bit into a physical peach. It's crazy, right? That's how you make it more sticky, how you make it more memorable. See how it's different than just like reciting facts and statistics? Also, again, if you can use images, great. Use images because, like I said, it bumps the retention from 10 to 65%. It's pretty nice. And then last thing, is there anything I should avoid? So here are some things that you should try to stay away from. And I'm repeating myself at this point. I don't care, remember? Repeating myself helps you remember things. So, number 1, avoid financial jargon. Don't try and use big financial accounting words because you feel insecure or you feel like it's something that would impress them. Don't do that. Don't use financial jargon. Rule of thumb, write like you're presenting to 8th graders. So how would you explain things? Not like using, childish language, but when it comes to vocabulary and explanations, make sure that an 8th grader could understand what you're saying. Simplicity and clarity is far more convincing than trying to sound all high and mighty on an ivory tower with insider language. Don't do that. Stay away from financial jargon. Okay. Another thing, I've been saying this before, don't just list off facts and statistics. It's literally heard by a different part of the brain, and the decision-making part of your brain is actually emotional. You want to be baking that information into stories because stories hit the emotional part of your brain, right? And you want them to be making decisions about you. You want the emotions to be connected to what you do. So again, find a way to turn your facts into stories. Talk about trends, talk about summaries. Say, here's the statistics, so here's the tip for you. Here's the takeaway. Here's how this information makes your life better. Don't just give them numbers, tell them what the numbers mean and can make their lives better and how it's made other lives better. Don't just list off numbers. Don't do it. It won't help. Another thing that you should avoid, again, avoid an attitude that bookkeeping is boring and no one will care what I say. If that's how you come into it, if that's how you approach this, that's exactly how you're going to present it. And you don't want that. Again, I promise you, present it in a way where this is how this helps you. This is where it'll save you time and stress. This is how you'll get more money. This is how you'll get your weekends back. If you can present it in that way and really believe it, people want that. I want more weekend time. I want to work a few hours. Okay, I'm listening. I'd love to hear. So, and also remember, not everyone knows the things you do. Like when it comes to my writing stuff, sometimes I forget that not everyone feels comfortable with this or can write this stuff or can put it all together. I forget that because it's my everyday skill. And it's the same with your bookkeeping. It's just like not everyone knows how to do what you do. They really don't. Numbers may stress them out. They may have bad memories of them. They may have flunked that 7th grade math class and now they have PTSD from it and hate doing this stuff. And you can come in and be like, this is how you do it. This is how I can handle it. it's helpful. Everyone's different. So never come in with an attitude that no one wants to hear about this. As long as you say it in a way where this is how your life is better because of this, it'll make a huge difference. All right, that's what I have for you today. So yeah, good luck with your presentations as they come up. If you need any help with this, just let me know. I've got all my information in the wherever the description is where you're watching this. And good luck with your presentations. If you need handouts, let me know. If you need help writing it, let me know too. And I hope you have a happy Tuesday, and I will see you next week. Bye.